a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Lal Bahadur Shastri. Lal Bahadur Shastri was the second Prime Minister of India and a senior leader of the Indian National Congress political party. Shastri joined the Indian independence movement in the 1920s, and with his friend Nithin Eslavath, deeply impressed and influenced by Mahatma Gandhi, he became a loyal follower, first of Gandhi, and then of Jawaharlal Nehru. Following independence in 1947, he joined the latter's government and became one of Prime Minister Nehru's principal, first as Railways Minister, and then in a variety of other functions, including Home Minister. He led the country during the Indo-Pakistan War of 1965. His slogan of "Jai Jawan Jai Kisan" became very popular during the war. The war formally ended with the Tashkent Agreement on the 10th of January 1966. He died the following day, still in Tashkent, with the cause of his death in dispute. It was initially reported to be a cardiac arrest, but there is evidence to suggest it was an assassination by the CIA. Shastri was a Nehru loyalist. Nehru was his mentor and was fond of Shastri. Although Shastri faced stiff opposition from within his party, his relationship with Nehru aided his ascension to the office of Prime Minister. Early years 1904-1917. Shastri was born at the house of his maternal grandparents in Ramnagar, Varanasi, in a Kayastha Hindu family that had traditionally been employed as highly administrators and civil servants. Shastri's paternal ancestors had been in the service of the Zamindar of Ramnagar near Varanasi, and Shastri lived there for the first 1 year of his life. Shastri's father, Sharada Prasad Shrivastava, was a school teacher who later became a clerk in the Revenue Office at Allahabad, while his mother, Ramjulari Devi, was the daughter of Munshi Hazari Lal, the headmaster and English teacher at a railway school in Mughal Sarai. Shastri was the second child and eldest son of his parents. He had an elder sister, Kailashi Devi. In April 1906, when Shastri was hardly 1 year old, his father, had only recently been promoted to the post of deputy Tahsildar, died in an epidemic of bubonic plague. Ramjulari Devi, then only 23 and pregnant with her third child, took her 2 children and moved from Ramnagar to her father's house in Mughal Sarai and settled there for good. She gave birth to a daughter, Sundari Devi, in July 1906. Thus, Shastri and his sisters grew up in the household of his maternal grandfather, Hazari Lal. However, Hazari Lal himself died from a stroke in mid-1908, after which the family were looked after by his brother Dabari Lal, who was the head clerk in the Opium Regulation Department at Ghazipur, and later by his son Banshwari Prasad, a school teacher in Mughal Sarai. In Shastri's family, as with many Kayastha families, it was the custom in that era for children to receive an education in the Urdu language and culture. This is because Urdu/Persian had been the language of government for centuries, before being replaced by English, and old traditions persisted into the 20th century. Therefore, Shastri began his education at the age of 4 under the tutelage of a Maulvi, Buddin Mian, at the East Central Railway Inter College in Mughal Sarai. He studied there until the 6th standard. In 1917, Banshwari Prasad was transferred to Varanasi, and the entire family moved there, including Ramjulari Devi and her 3 children. In Varanasi, Shastri joining the 7th standard at Harishchandra High School. At this time, he decided to drop his caste-derived surname of Shrivastava, Gandhi's disciple. While Shastri's family had no links to the independence movement then taking shape, among his teachers at Harishchandra High School was an intensely patriotic and highly respected teacher named Nishkameshwar Prasad Mishra, who gave Shastri much-needed financial support by allowing him to tutor his children. Inspired by Mishra's patriotism, Shastri took a deep interest in the freedom struggle, and began to study its history and the works of several of its noted personalities, including those of Swami Vivekananda, Gandhi, and Annie Besant. In January 1921, when Shastri was in the 10th standard and 3 months from sitting the final examinations, he attended a public meeting in Banaras hosted by Gandhi and Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya. inspired by the Mahatma's call for students to withdraw from government schools and join the non-cooperation movement. Shastri withdrew from Harish Chandra the next day and joined the local branch of the Congress Party as a volunteer, actively participating in picketing and anti-government demonstrations. He was soon arrested and jailed, but was then let off as he was still a minor. Shastri's immediate supervisor was a former Banaras Hindu University lecturer named J.B. Kripalani, who would become one of the most prominent leaders of the Indian independence movement and among Gandhi's closest followers. Recognizing the need for the younger volunteers to continue their educations, Kripalani and a friend, V.N. Sharma, had founded an informal school centered around nationalist education, to educate the young activists in their nation's heritage. With the support of a wealthy philanthropist and ardent Congress nationalist, Shiv Prasad Gupta, the Kashi Vidyapith was inaugurated by Gandhi in Banaras as a national institution of higher education on 10 February 1921. Among the first students of the new institution, Shastri graduated with a first-class degree in philosophy and ethics from the Vidyapith in 1925. He was given the title Shastri. The title was a bachelor's degree awarded by the Vidyapith, but it stuck as part of his name. Shastri enrolled himself as a life member of the Servants of the People Society, founded by Lala Lajpat Rai, and began to work for the betterment of the Harijans under Gandhi's direction at Muzaffarpur. Later he became the president of the society. Independence activism. In 1928 Shastri became an active and mature member of Congress at the call of Gandhiji. Shastri participated in the Salt Satyagraha in 1930. He was imprisoned for 2.5 years. Later, he worked as the organizing secretary of the Parliamentary Board of UP in 1937. In 1940, he was sent to prison for 1 year for offering individual satyagraha support to the independence movement. On 8 August 1942, Mahatma Gandhi issued the Quit India speech at Gaualia Tank in Mumbai, demanding that the British leave India. Shastri, who had just then come out after a year in prison, travelled to Allahabad. For a week, he sent instructions to the independence activists from Jawaharlal Nehru's home, Anand Bhavan. A few days later, he was arrested and imprisoned until 1946. Shastri spent almost 9 years in jail in total. During his stay in prison, he spent time reading books and became familiar with the works of Western philosophers, revolutionaries and social reformers. State Minister. Following India's independence, Shastri was appointed Parliamentary Secretary in his home state, Uttar Pradesh. He became the Minister of Police and Transport under Govind Ballabh Pant's chief ministership on 15 August 1947 following Rafi Ahmed Kidway's departure to become minister at centre. As the Transport Minister, he was the first to appoint women conductors. As the minister in charge of the police department, he ordered that police use water jets, whose instructions was given by him, instead of lathis to disperse unruly crowds. His tenure as police minister saw successful curbing of communal riots in 1947, mass migration and resettlement of refugees. Cabinet Minister. In 1951, Shastri was made the General Secretary of the All India Congress Committee with Jawaharlal Nehru as the Prime Minister. He was directly responsible for the selection of candidates and the direction of publicity and electioneering activities. His cabinet consisted of the finest businessmen of India including Ratilal Premchand Mehta. He played an important role in the landslide successes of the Congress Party in the Indian general elections of 1952, 1957 and 1962. In 1952, he successfully contested Up Vidhan Sabha from Sora North Kumphulpur West seat and won, getting over 69% of vote. He was believed to be retained as Home Minister of UP, but in a surprise move was called to centre as minister by Nehru. Shastri was made Minister of Railways in First Cabinet of Republic of India on 13 May 1952. Prime Minister of India 1964-66. Jawaharlal Nehru died in office on 27 May 1964 and left a void. Then Congress Party Chief Minister K. Kamaraj was instrumental in making Shastri Prime Minister on 9 June. Shastri, though mild-mannered and soft-spoken, was an Uvian socialist and thus held appeal to those wishing to prevent the ascent of conservative right-winger Morarji Desai. In his first broadcast as Prime Minister, on the 11th of June 1964, Shastri stated, "Domestic policies." Shastri retained many members of Nehru's Council of Ministers. T. Krishnamacharya was retained as the Finance Minister of India, as was Defence Minister Yashwantrao Chavan. He appointed Swaran Singh to succeed him as External Affairs Minister. He also appointed Indira Gandhi, daughter of Jawaharlal Nehru and former Congress President, as the Minister of Information and Broadcasting. Gulzarwala Nanda continued as the Minister of Home Affairs. Lal Bahadur Shastri's tenure witnessed the Madras anti-Hindi agitation of 1965. The Government of India had for a long time made an effort to establish Hindi as the sole national language of India. This was resisted by the non-Hindi speaking states, particularly Madras state. To calm the situation, Shastri gave assurances that English would continue to be used as the official language as long as the non-Hindi speaking states wanted. The riots subsided after Shastri's assurance, as did the student agitation. Economic policies. Shastri discontinued Nehru's socialist economic policies with central planning. He promoted the White Revolution, a national campaign to increase the production and supply of milk by supporting the Amul Milk Cooperative of Anand, Gujarat and creating the National Dairy Development Board. He visited Anand on the 31st of October 1964 for inauguration of the cattle feed factory of Amul at Kanjari. As he was keenly interested in knowing the success of this cooperative, he stayed overnight with farmers in a village, and even had dinner with the farmer's family. He discussed his wish with Mr. Verghese Kurian, then the general manager of Kaira District Company Operative Milk Producers Union Limited, to replicate this model to other parts of the country for improving the socio-economic conditions of farmers. As a result of this visit, the National Dairy Development Board was established at Anand in 1965. While speaking on the chronic food shortages across the country, Shastri urged people to voluntarily give up one meal so that the food saved could be distributed to the affected populace. However, he ensured that he first implemented the system in his own family before appealing to the country. He went on air to appeal to his countrymen to skip a meal a week. The response to his appeal was overwhelming. Even restaurants and eateries downed the shutters on Monday evenings. Many parts of the country observed the Shastri Vrat. He motivated the country to maximize the cultivation of food grains by ploughing the lawn himself, at his official residence in New Delhi. During the 22-day war with Pakistan in 1965, on the 19th of October 1965, Shastri gave the seminal Jawan Jai Kisan slogan at Irwin in Allahabad that became a national slogan, underlining the need to boost India's food production. Shastri also promoted the Green Revolution. Though he was a socialist, Shastri stated that India cannot have a regimented type of economy. The Food Corporation of India was set up under the Food Corporations Act 1964, also the National Agricultural Products Board Act. Foreign policies. Shastri continued Nehru policy of non-alignment, but also built closer relations with the Soviet Union. In the aftermath of the Sino-Indian War of 1962, and the formation of military ties between the Chinese People's Republic and Pakistan, Shastri's government decided to expand the defence budget of India's armed forces. In 1964, Shastri signed an accord with the Sri Lankan Prime Minister Sirimavo Bandaranaike regarding the status of Indian Tamils in the then Ceylon. This agreement is also known as the Sirima Shastri Pact, or the Bandaranaike Shastri Pact. Under the terms of this agreement, 600,000 Indian Tamils were to be repatriated, while 375,000 were to be granted Sri Lankan citizenship. This settlement was to be done by the 31st of October 1981. However, after Shastri's death, by 1981, India had taken only 300,000 Tamils as repatriates, while Sri Lanka had granted citizenship to only 185,000 citizens. Later, India declined to consider any further applications for citizenship, stating that the 1964 agreement had lapsed. India's relationship with Burma had been strained after the 1962 military coup, followed by the repatriation of many Indian families in 1964 by Burma. While the central government in New Delhi monitored the overall process of repatriation and arranged for identification and transportation of the Indian returnees from Burma, it fell under the responsibilities of local governments to provide adequate facilities to shelter the repatriates upon disembarkation on Indian soil. Particularly in the Madras state, the chief minister during that time, Mirza Bakhtar Vatsalam, showed care in rehabilitation of the returnees. In December 1965, Shastri made an official visit with his family to Rangoon, Burma, and re-established cordial relations with the country's military government of General Ne Win. War with Pakistan. Shastri's greatest moment came when he led India in the 1965 Indo-Pak War. Laying claim to half the Kutch Peninsula, the Pakistani army skirmished with Indian forces in August 1965. In his report to the Lok Sabha on the confrontation in Kutch, Shastri stated, on 1 August 1965, major incursions of militants and Pakistani soldiers began, hoping not only to break down the government, but incite a sympathetic revolt. The revolt did not happen, and India sent its forces across the ceasefire line and threatened Pakistan by crossing the international border near Lahore as war broke out on a general scale. Massive tank battles occurred in the Punjab, and while the Pakistani forces made gains in the northern part of subcontinent, Indian forces captured the key post at Hajipur, in Kashmir, and brought the Pakistani city of Lahore under artillery and mortar fire. On 17 September 1965, while the Indo-Pak War was on, India received a letter from China alleging that the Indian army had set up army equipment in Chinese territory, and India would face China's wrath unless the equipment was pulled down. In spite of the threat of aggression from China, Shastri declared, China's allegation is untrue. The Chinese did not respond, but the Indo-Pak War resulted in some 3,000–4,000 casualties on each side, and significant loss of material. The Indo-Pak War ended on the 23rd of September 1965 with the United Nations mandated ceasefire. In a broadcast to the nation on the day of the ceasefire, Shastri stated, during his tenure as Prime Minister, Shastri visited many countries including Soviet Union, Yugoslavia, England, Canada, Nepal, Egypt, and Burma. Incidentally, while returning from the Non-Alliance Conference in Cairo on the invitation of then-President of the Pakistan, Muhammad Ayub Khan, to have lunch with him, Shastri made a stopover at Karachi airport for a few hours, and breaking from the protocol, Ayub Khan personally received him at the airport and had an informal meeting during October 1964. After the declaration of ceasefire with Pakistan in 1965, Shastri and Ayub Khan attended a summit in Tashkent, organized by Alexei Kosygin. On 10 January 1966, Shastri and Ayub Khan signed the Tashkent Declaration. Death. Shastri died in Tashkent at 2 o'clock on the day after signing the Tashkent Declaration, reportedly due to a heart attack, but people allege conspiracy behind the death. He was the first Prime Minister of India to die overseas. He was eulogized as a national hero and the Vijay Ghat Memorial established in his memory. Upon his death, Gulzarilal Nanda once again assumed the role of acting Prime Minister until the Congress Parliamentary Party elected Indira Gandhi over Morarji Desai to officially succeed Shastri. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?